Well, ladies and gentlemen, something historic is happening right now, and almost nobody in the mainstream media even wants to talk about it because President Donald J. Trump is not just tweaking the tax system, he's detonating the foundation that the IRS has stood on for over a century. Now, you remember when they said that it was impossible, that income taxes could never be reduced, that Trump was dreaming when he floated this eliminating federal income tax for working Americans idea? Well, someone better alert the fact checkers because the numbers are changing. The policy is shifting and the panic inside Washington is very, very real. So Biden's 87,000 IRS agent expansion already being dismantled piece by piece. Mark my words, talks of no taxes on tips and overtime, it's on the table. And now the bombshell. Tariff-powered refund checks, real money flowing back to American workers instead of into the bureaucratic black hole. Now, we're talking about tariffs funding government instead of your paycheck doing that. Imagine that, right? Can I get an amen for that? If Trump pulls this off, even halfway, the IRS wouldn't just shrink, it would straight up collapse as we know it. And the elites are terrified because for the first time in our lifetimes, you might keep what you earn, you might get paid back. And the era of America funding everyone but Americans, oh, that is over. So buckle up, guys, because this is much bigger than tax cuts. This is a workers' revolution. Hit the like button and subscribe. Folks, what we're witnessing right now isn't a proposal, isn't a campaign promise. It isn't even wishful thinking or some maybe someday fantasy. This is already moving, okay? Behind the scenes in Washington, D.C., the gears are grinding and the IRS is feeling the tremor. For the first time in our lifetime, at least, the American tax system, it's shifting away from you. It's shifting away from taxing you and toward taxing them, the foreign importers, the offshore manufacturers, the corporations that have been eating our lunch for decades. And the panic is real because for 100 years, the IRS has been completely untouchable, a government blade pressed against every worker's paycheck. They never expected a president to walk in and say, "Why are we taxing American labor instead of foreign goods?" But Trump did. And he's not whispering it. He's doubling down. In fact, you can see it in the news cycles. You hear it in the briefings. You see it when IRS officials are suddenly very quiet on camera. This is something that is being dismantled brick by brick, and it's happening in December 2025, not in theory, but in motion. We are standing at the doorway of a generational shift, and the establishment knows it. So let's talk about Biden's famous 87,000 IRS agents. Some people said that they were armed IRS agents, but I'm not going to get into the minutia here. But remember when they mocked people online for being upset about it? Was anybody upset about 87,000 new IRS agents? Was anyone happy about that? When will MAGA realize audits are only for millionaires, they said, right? When will they stop being paranoid? They laughed. Well, guess what? Those hires weren't designed to chase billionaires. Billionaires have lawyers. They're good. Those agents were structured to go after the middle class, the Venmo transfers, the side hustles, the PayPal transfers, the Cash App transfers, the waitresses, the waiters, the Uber drivers, the Lyft drivers, the American people, you, me. I mean, you see where I'm going here, right? But Trump, he walked back into the Oval Office this year with a wrecking ball in his back pocket. And it was a very big back pocket, by the way. It was a pretty big wrecking ball. And step by step, funding for those hires, they began clawing down. Authorization started slowing down. Hiring started pausing. And redirection of budget priorities began to happen. It was kind of like watching a regime that thought it was permanently, in place, suddenly realized that the ground was disappearing under its feet. Then all of a sudden, the question that Americans are now asking is the question that Washington fears the most. Why did they want 87,000 agents in the first place for the IRS, right? Like, why so many? Why now, right? What did they expect to follow? What did they expect to collect from the working class that they weren't already telling us, right? Because under President Trump, that enforcement army is shrinking. It's not expanding. And the IRS knows exactly what that means. Their age of untouchable power is ending. Now, before we go deeper into this rabbit hole, let me remind you of something very important because taxes aren't the only place Americans are losing money. Sometimes the pain hits closer to home. So a woman told me recently that she spent hours trying to fix her mom's Medicare issues, hours on the phone, hours in frustration. And then she said something that stuck with me. I love her, but I shouldn't have to fix this. And she's right. When your Medicare plan fails, your family pays the emotional price, not just financially, but mentally. That's why I partner with Chapter. They help strengthen Medicare coverage so that you're protected and your family doesn't have to step in and fight on your behalf. Now, most people are already dialing the phone number at the bottom of your screen right there, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron, because peace of mind should never be complicated. That phone number again is 909-563-8279. And speaking of that, check out what viewers have been saying. So Darlene Walraven, she said, Ron, I just want to thank you so very much for letting me know about Chapter. Saving me $200 a year lowers everything. So Darlene, thank you very much for sharing that. I'm really just genuinely glad that it helped you out. So guys, stories like these, they really just push me to keep bringing resources that help save people real money, not pennies. Now, I want to peel back another layer because cutting agents is just one slice of the steak. The funding valve is tightening. The hiring pipeline slowed to a drip. And the IRS field offices that once operated like a federal storm are now moving like they're wading through wet cement. For decades, the IRS consumed billions with almost no pushback whatsoever. Year after year, more funding, more enforcement, more power over the average family's paycheck. But now, Trump is rerouting the financial bloodstream. So instead of dumping money into these audits of Americans that are making 50 grand, $60,000 a year, $75K a year, the administration is shifting pressure outward toward foreign corporations, multinational import pipelines, overseas manufacturers, the giants who profit off of American consumers while paying peanuts back into the system. Now, what I'm talking about is less focus on the guy who's selling items on Facebook Marketplace and eBay or Amazon, and more focus on the container ships that are unloading tax-free goods by the millions. So listen carefully. This isn't about starving the government. It's about rebalancing government. It's about power away from bureaucrats back toward the citizens. And every dollar not fed to IRS expansion becomes another dollar that can fuel relief, refund, and cuts for the workers who built this country. The IRS feels the chokehold tightening, and they know what comes next. And so now here's where the media loses their mind, because Trump isn't just shrinking the IRS. He is openly talking about removing federal income taxes for workers under $150,000. And they call him crazy. They scream impossible, fantasy. Economics won't work like that. Well, then you run the numbers. Tariffs are bringing in tens of billions of dollars per month, by the way. Multiply that across the year, you land in the $300 to $400 billion zone. Now, listen closely, guys, because here's the math legacy that media avoids like sunlight. Workers under $150,000 contribute roughly 20% of total income tax revenue. That's almost the same percentage that tariffs are now covering. So no, Trump doesn't need to eliminate the full income tax overnight. He only needs to replace the portion that's paid by middle class and working class families. And this would be massive. This would be huge. This is a game changer. Now, think about what that means. No federal income tax deducted. Can you imagine how big your paycheck would be if there weren't all those deductions line by line, siphoning money out of your pocket before you even got a chance to grab it? More cash in every paycheck. The first major transfer of power away from the IRS and toward the worker class in a century. Even a partial win is historic. Even 10% would be massive. But Trump isn't aiming for 10%. He's talking zero federal income tax for most Americans. And Washington is sweating. So now let's talk about the shockwave that's hitting the service industry, because this one has waitresses, bartenders, hotel staff, delivery drivers, casino workers, and every person grinding for tips, watching their phones like hawks. For years, guys, the IRS treated tips like taxable prey. I mean, you could bust your back, double shifting it, smile through, rude customers, leaving you crap tips, serve food until your knees hurt, and the government still reached into your pocket before you even got paid. Your hustle, their cut. It's kind of like the IRS was pimping us. But under Trump, we're hearing something that we've never heard from a sitting president in modern history. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. You get to keep it. Now imagine a Friday night rush at a restaurant. You walk out with $220 in tips, and instead of losing $40 to $60 to the IRS, you take every dollar home. No deduction, no shrinkage. Rent money stays rent money. Christmas money stays Christmas money. You see what I'm saying here? This isn't just policy. This is dignity. And This says if you work harder, you should earn more, not the IRS. It kind of flips the entire dynamic from punishment to reward, and workers know it. This is why this headline is exploding across TikTok, YouTube, and conservative media, because for the first time in a very long time, the little guy is being put first. And so now here's where the game flips on its head, and this is why global elites, Wall Street executives, and foreign manufacturers, they're screaming into their pillows at night, because instead of squeezing American workers dry, Trump is saying, tax the imports, tax the outsourcing, tax the corporations that abandon American labor. In other words, make them pay. Make those guys over there pay. So every container that rolls into our ports loaded with Chinese electronics, overseas clothing, foreign steel pays a tariff. Every pallet of goods shipped into American stores, tariff. And that money right there, instead of coming from your paycheck, flows into government without touching the working class. The simple translation is this: we stop taxing income, we start taxing imports. It's the purest America first economic formula ever attempted at scale. We were told tariffs would crash the economy, yet look around, guys. Gas prices are falling, food stabilizing, wages tipping up. I mean, tariffs don't crush America. They fund America. And the more imports we tax, the more room that we have to cut income taxes, remove tax from tips, and yes, eventually pay refund dividend checks back to citizens. We used to tax the American worker. Now we tax the foreign producer. The IRS hates it. Globalists fear it, and workers are grinning. Now let's get to the part that has everyone talking: refund checks. Not stimulus checks, not welfare checks, not SNAP. I'm talking refunds, guys. Money returned to the people who earned it, funded by tariffs, not by debt, not by printing, not by taxing workers. Trump referenced this himself. He said, America is taking in so much money through these tariffs that we can give a nice dividend back to the citizens while still reducing the debt. Drop a dividend down below if you support Trump kicking out a nice dividend check back to the American people, right? So think about that just for a second, okay? Washington spent decades telling us the opposite. Oh, we need more taxes. We need more revenue. We need more IRS oversight. Now, this administration is saying, what if the government didn't take more? What if we gave some back? That's where the Doge or Dodge dividend refund concept enters the spotlight, okay? So tariffs fill the bucket. Once the bucket overflows, Americans get a payout. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? So no more begging Congress, no more stimulus politics. This is profit sharing with the nation. Now imagine this. You check your bank account, you see $300 or $500, maybe more. Not because you paid extra taxes, but because America made money. Foreign imports pay, American workers collect. For the first time ever, Washington isn't the gambler. We are the shareholder. Now, here's a twist that rattles economists who swore this wasn't possible. This plan doesn't just cut taxes, it attacks the national debt at the same time. For decades, presidents raised taxes claiming that it would fix the deficit. Yet the deficit only grew. Debt soared, interest payments exploded. Why? Because they weren't trying to fix it. They were trying to feed it. Trump is flipping the script. So instead of taking more from taxpayers, he's generating new revenue streams from tariffs, cutting the bureaucratic load, and slowing IRS growth. Less money wasted, more money coming in, debt curve bends downward. You see where we're going with this. And the DC establishment is terrified because debt is their leash. The bigger it gets, the more they justify taxes and audits and agencies and control and all this other nonsense. Break the debt, you break their excuse. Now imagine America 10 years from now. Lower taxes, refund dividends, debt shrinking, workers keeping more of what they earn. Sounds like fantasy because Americans forgot what winning feels like. But look around. Wage power is rising, tariffs are flowing in, inflation is cooling, food affordability improving measured by hours worked. For the first time in a generation, we're digging out instead of digging in. And this is amazing. This is historic. Let's talk about something most economists will not say out loud. Real buying power matters more than raw wages, okay? Because if gas is $8 a gallon and groceries are sky high, a raise means nothing. But under Trump, we're now seeing something rare. Prices cooling while wages rise. I mean, look at the numbers, guys. Gas is down, oil down nearly 25% since Trump took office. Staple foods are stabilizing and by some metrics, cheaper when measured by hours worked. Meaning that what used to cost 4 hours of labor might now cost 2.5. That, ladies and gentlemen, is wage power. That is freedom. So imagine stacking income tax cuts on top of that. Then imagine no tax on tips. Then imagine refund dividends that are paid out instead of collected. This isn't a policy shift. This is a financial culture shock. So if you're a middle-class family, this could mean an extra $200 to $600 monthly staying in your home. Money that goes to mortgage payments or car notes, kids' clothes, debt payoff, or small business investment. And that is why Washington is panicking. Because when everyday Americans start keeping more of their money, they need government less. And nothing scares the establishment more than an independent middle class. Now, if we peel the curtain back on the panic, we'll discover something. Because while workers celebrate, the elites are shaking. Global companies see tariffs cutting into their profits, Wall Street hates losing cheap foreign imports, and bureaucrats tremble at losing IRS power. So, what do? Fear narrative. Always fear. Tariffs will crash the economy. Cuts to the IRS will cause chaos. Refunds are unrealistic. They said the same thing about energy independence. They said the same thing about border security. They said the same thing about inflation reversals, and they were wrong every single time. I mean, because here's the truth, guys. Wealthy elites, they benefit from the old system. Cheap offshore labor, tax loopholes, imports flooded into America while Main Street suffocated. The IRS hunted waitresses, not billionaires. Trump is flipping the power ladder upside down. The base, the workers, move to the top. The financial aristocracy, it gets the bill. And that is why you're hearing hysteria on cable news, not because it won't work, but because it is working. This is a transfer of power back to the people, and the old guard is fighting like hell trying to stop this thing. So now we reach the heart of it. The fight isn't just about taxes. It's about philosophy. It's about who deserves control over your paycheck, you or the government. Now, for decades, the left sold a vision of dependence. You need us. You need assistance. You need programs, oversight, regulation, yada, 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 right? But every program had a condition. You pay more. You keep less. That sucks. Trump's model is the opposite. It says, work hard, keep what you earn. Produce more, take more home. Build something, government stays out of your face. And so suddenly the IRS looks less like a guardian and more like a middleman extracting value from your labor. People are waking up to it. This isn't about billionaires. This isn't about Wall Street. This is about the waitress who works a double, the firefighter working overtime, the father driving Uber after his 9 to 5, the American who has never felt the system work for him. Now, one vision makes citizens dependent, the other makes citizens strong. And strength is dangerous because a strong middle class cannot be controlled. So let's paint the picture. No federal income tax for workers under $150,000 a year. Tips, 100% take home. Overtime, untouched. Tariffs, paying government bills instead of you. Refund checks, actual cash, landing in Americans' bank accounts. Now imagine your paycheck on Friday. No income tax slice missing. You earn $1,200, you take home $1,200. Your weekend tips, all yours. And instead of sending money in April, you're waiting for a dividend payout. That's not a fantasy, guys. This is a blueprint in motion right now, and the pieces are already shifting. Funding slowed, agent hiring blocked, tariff revenue is pouring in. But there's a flip side, a warning. If the plan gets crushed by the swamp, if bureaucrats claw back power, if globalists push hard enough, we snap right on back to the old world. Taxes go up, audits up, control restored. So the question becomes simple. Do Americans want freedom or dependency? Paychecks or penalties? Refunds or audits? History is being written, guys, and in the end, it won't be Congress that decides. Not the IRS, not Wall Street. It will be the American people. Do you want your paycheck taxed or do you want your paycheck back? That answer right there, that will shape the next century. We'll see you next time.